against Stixxay.
And CLG say, okay, more frontline for us. We're going to rely on Pobelter and Stixxay to be the damage when it comes to mid and late game. They knew Kennen was up on the top side. They knew what the matchup was. Maroon says, pick me, Maokai. I'm ready to play tanks out of this one. Of course, Orin was nerfed this patch as well, so maybe he says, this is now my go-to tank. Either way, this is going to be the matchups right here. No more swaps. These are the things you're going to see. CLG looking favored in the duo. Pobelter going to be an incredibly strong late-game damage mage on the rise. Very curious to see how his matchups are going to go against Damonte. If Cleanse doesn't show up for the TF, of course, Ryze has pretty good gank setup. Might see Wiggily show up down there as well on the Volibear. And a very big front line, right? You've got heavy tanks on the one side, whereas, you know, not quite so much. Sett is pretty good over there in the jungle, but it's not going to be Maokai Volibear, and so Golden Guardians less of a front line, and yet Aphelios still needs a team fight.
Yep, I do think that Maokai was honestly a great pick here. It's my favorite tank into Kennen. I do think that you can withstand that matchup very well, and especially because you have another AP mid laner. Yes, Sett is damage, you know, physical damage, but he's going to be building tank. It's a TF and a Kennen, so you can very comfortably build towards, you know, early Spirit Visage, or at the very least, you know, a Cowl into a Sunfire. You can hold up well in the side lane. Maokai has decent wave clear, especially if you do go for that Sunfire route, and this kind of snap go button is pretty powerful of just flash twisted advance. These are very many squishy members over on the Golden Guardians side, so I think that they're going to have a good time, you know, in those team fights. It can also even be pretty difficult for Kennen to actually find those engages, because even if Kennen finds a flank or a good angle to get towards that backline, Maokai can just say no, lock you down with that twisted advance into an ultimate, you know, into that Q, just knock you back even more. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I really like this Maokai pick, and I tend to favor CLG pretty heavily if it comes down to team fighting, unless there is some amazing Kennen ultimate. But Golden Guardians is going to want to be playing side lanes, so, you know, spreading the map out, utilizing Bard and TF to try to find these plays in side lanes and engages where CLG isn't quite ready for it.
And that's one thing we had heard Golden Guardians talk about a few weeks back when interviewing and asking, you know, hey, what's your play style? What's it look like for you? And they said, yeah, you know, we feel like we have kind of settled in on a play style. We figured ourselves out. We know what we want to do. And it's a lot of this. It's a lot of playing around the map and being one of the most rotation-heavy, split-push-focused teams in the league. And so often, I feel like we see a middle-of-the-pack or lower-tier team, and we're like, all right, look, just draft for team fight, grab a Maokai, grab a Nautilus, grab an Aphelios, just go hit them 5v5, you know, because we don't trust to do anything else. Golden Guardians have honestly had, I would say, their best split ever so far as a team. I think they're getting better year over year, and it's honestly the antithesis of playing team fight style. Now, FBI has amazing stats, and he can be that reliable backline, but time and again, they're going for these kinds of champions. They're playing more their own style. They're doing their own level of innovation, and it's cool to see because it is working for them.
It really is, and it's also interesting, you know, when you're talking about, you know, them having their best split ever. I agree, and it even feels like it supports that even more, like that this is their highest level ever when you consider how good they've been over the last number of weeks, because they started out 1-4. You know, this was not a team that came hot out of the gates, and they are now sitting at 8-7. They have been very good over the last, you know, 5 weeks, 4 weeks or so. So they can be very happy about that. It's also interesting to note that not only did Huhi start the W for that heal shrine, every time we've been seeing that, people have actually been going to the soul lanes and dropping them there. In this case, they're kind of just having a bit of a nod towards their weak laning phase in this 2v2. He actually started the W, but dropped all of those health shrines down in the bottom lane in case they are getting pushed in case they are getting poked out. They're going to have that. They're going to have Cleanse as well as Doran Shield on FBI. So very defensive setup. The exhaust even on the Bard, which is pretty atypical. So I do think that this is some pretty smart adjustments, given that they are expected to have trouble in this 2v2.
Now, speaking of trouble in lane, early lead to Pobelter as the wave was pushed in, but Pob will get more farm overall and actually does some decent damage towards Damonte as well, chugging through his potions. Closer waiting around in mid in case there is a gank. You know, Volibear could easily path through mid. They're going to find some damage, but certainly nothing like a gold card for a stun. Pob will be easily under turret and have no problems here. Will maintain a small farm lead. Meanwhile, Hauntzer, pushing in on the top side, went for a cold start, which in the 1v1, obviously there was no risk at all. You're never going to die to a Maokai unless you really, really misplay, but without the extra base health, something like a Doran's Blade or even a Doran's Ring, which we typically see, you know, maybe get bursted down by Volibear plus Maokai together. So far, though, so good for Hauntzer. Just pushing the wave, has a small farm lead.
And I actually really like that Closer just ran through mid lane there. You know, he made the read that Wiggily was playing to that top side, and since they had the push with Hauntzer up on that top side, you know, that would always be a scuttle that he would be able to get if they tried to challenge. You know, he helps Damonte be able to push out mid lane. You have the pushing top, so you go up top, you take that scuttle, and then he can retreat down towards this bottom scuttle, which would be opposite side of the map from where Wiggily is. And you know, by doing this, he's guaranteed himself both scuttles on this first rotation, and that is going to be feeling very, very good. Wiggily can try to look for some sort of a gank here, but Damonte is playing it pretty far back. He's playing down towards the side of the map that his jungler is on, so it doesn't look like there's going to be any opportunity to get something back here for Wiggily.
End of the day, nothing really done, but a 5 CS lead for Pobelter as the first recalls come through in the mid lane. Want to check it on bot here as well, where there's a farm lead for FBI and Huhi, who are taking, you know, the weaker early laner in Aphelios. They, I guess, got counter pick on support technically, but I still feel like I favor Morgana slightly, just because you can always black shield the stun, and you've got decent damage profile yourself. Regardless, though, as the wave is going to push back around, you still got that farm lead on the Aphelios, and the first recall time is coming in the next minute. He should have no problems getting BF Sword and getting to choose when the recall comes in. The only way that would stop is if they said, you know, we would rather play for Drake instead. We'll sack the recall instead, do Drake damage. But so far, that's not the case. They're putting their deep wards down, pop the Scryer's Bloom. They will once again, this is the second Bloom we have now seen spot Wiggily clearing his jungle. So there's really no chance for this Volibear to be surprising.
The fact that Wiggily kind of has been on the back foot in this, the double scuttle went to Closer in them, that, you know, the Golden Guardians actually have the pushing bot lane. They've even taken a turret plate this early on, which I do find fairly surprising, given that, you know, Morgana plus this Kalista are pretty strong there. You could see Pobelter was looking for the empowered root, but not quite able to get it. You do have to land the E before you W to actually have that be a root now. It is otherwise just as slow. That obviously has been the case for quite some time, so Damonte has that window to land his gold card before Pobelter could actually get that root set up for Wiggily.
Cool to see the animations are fast enough that TF can, as long as you're both paying attention, because there's no way to like cast faster on Ryze. It doesn't scale up off anything. So if you're always able to go if gold card is locked, that means Damonte can always be safe unless Pope flashes in or something, you know, more. Or
unless you press the button really hard.
Yeah, you just press it really hard. And you know, maybe it works that way.
Faster
seems a little unlikely.
Sure.
Yeah. I will say, as a very minor thing, the first recall timing was skipped here. As you can see, the Kennen wave at 6 minutes. That means they didn't go for the instant BF Sword recall to get back on the map. I'm sure there's a reason why. I haven't been watching the lane entirely in and of itself, but felt like with the lane control they had, if they want to take that recall, they could have. Regardless, though, they're just trading farm back and forth.
I think they could have as well. This is just a guess, but in my mind, if I'm playing Aphelios and the Kalista and I'm playing against Kalista, and we're both just AFK farming and no one has items, I'm actually really happy as the Aphelios. So maybe he felt like by staying in lane, he would deny the base timing of his opponent and just keep them both on these small items. You know, obviously Kalista is going to be stronger on Blade of Ruin King and on these kind of like earlier items. So maybe he just felt like, hey, we just keep him locked in lane here. We just continue this passive no item farm it out style. And try to delay a little bit longer.
Yep. Well, end of the day, they just go 3 more waves and then do the 7-minute recall instead. This should allow, unless he is Inspiration secondary, it should allow boots and things like this. It'll be a bigger power spike, so I'm curious what else he wants to pick up here. Certainly actually stays in lane. I thought he was going to magical journey back with Huhi. Huhi himself just gets Mobies. He's like, all right, time to roam. Enjoy FBI. Later, you're off in Australia over on the southern side of the map. You're upside down. I'm going to go do something else. And he walks towards mid, goes for his ward control. They're not going to kill that one. They don't see it. But they will start going for bottom river, and now FBI will push out the Kennen wave that he receives, and then recall.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So a very late first recall there for FBI, but does get pickaxe plus BF, so very powerful early buy here for the Aphelios, and going to have a lot of raw AD. We can also see Hauntzer, we didn't really talk about this, but because he's going Spellbook, you can pretty much assume that he is going to be going for the Protobelt Rush. Generally, the 2 builds that you see these days, it's all AP, so it's just whether you're going to go Conqueror and Gunblade, or you're going to go for that Spellbook and just straight up Protobelt. That signifies that you're playing less for lane and more just to teamfight. And I think that makes sense against the Maokai, because even with the Gunblade Conqueror, you shouldn't be able to dominate that Maokai. But as we talked about in the draft, this is a very easy MR rush for Ruin. He either has the option to go straight towards the Spirit Visage if he feels like he's going to be in the side lane for a long time, or he can just sit on Cowl and then work towards something like a Sunfire, which is going to help with his wave clear, and also make him more durable against FBI, who obviously will be a big threat for consistent damage come teamfight time.
Smoothie had the option of a max range bind there. Didn't go for it. Said, you know, FBI probably going to juke it or journey or whatever, so let's not bother with this one. As it is, there is obviously a very big item lead down on the bottom lane. I would say in an actual scrap, I take BF Sword Pickaxe over the Cutlass by a lot. If you're just standing back up in lane, you're probably found with lifesteal. You can see FBI not really choosing to prioritize harassing his opponent in lane. But hey, we've got a 1,000 gold lead here for Golden Guardian. A lot of that being the Twisted Fate passive. First Drake came through, no problem at all, off of a little bit of bot and mid pressure. Farm still very close over on that side of the map as well. 12 CS lead for Hauntzer at the top side. CLG is doing their best to keep farm up. And to be fair, Wiggily is pretty much equal with Closer. Temporarily down a level, but not for long.
Yeah, it is interesting. You know, I do think that this bottom lane in general, when you see Kalista, you want to see pressure on this bottom side. You want to see them, you know, winning the 2v2 so you can stack dragons. But maybe CLG has the read that, hey, our team fighting is so much stronger, we don't necessarily need to push the pace. We can afford to play a little bit more cautiously. We can afford to give up something so that we can just hit our first items and have our tanks, you know, kind of take over in the team fight. So, you know, if that's the case, we'll see if it does work out for them. But Pobelter in some trouble.
The lands, gold card lands. FBI is there. Pobelter's at 200 health. Has to ult to get some health back from FBI's side as CLG shows up for defense. Pobelter chunked out. Does not have to burn flash, though. Able to simply walk away. Ulti's burn, no kill.
Yep, and he is going to have his teleport here very shortly, so it doesn't amount to much. They actually got the cleanse off FBI there, who did get bound under that turret, so had to pop that to get out. Nice attempt, though, and that's something that you want to see from Huhi, moving around on this Bard. Anytime that ultimate is up, on champions that don't have a dash, as long as you're not doing it from super far away, you can pretty consistently land it on them and force cooldowns, force summoners, and that's what he's looking for. So want to continue to see more of that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a window now, right? This is kind of your opportunity in. I do want to see some level of mid-game pressure out of CLG just because there are timings you can abuse. Game lead now, 2,000. We know the Herald was already picked up. That's going to crash into a turret eventually.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. Plate down once in both mid and bottom lane. Hauntzer has not been going for turret damage just yet. Just happy with his farm lead, trying to harass Ruin off his own CS and delay the Maokai more than enrich himself. Cole already done. That's, again, also part of that gold spike, as he's gotten very, very good CS here for Hauntzer with a basically free lane.
Yeah, Hauntzer has always been really good at farming, honestly. He is one of those top laners that, you know, if given an easy matchup, is pretty much going to have, you know, near perfect farm most of the time. And he is, you know, showing that to us here again, you know, very quick marks. So we've seen it in the Samsung Fast 5. He's often near the top of leaderboards for a lot of those marks.
Hope's done here for Closer, bit of damage there. As Ruin takes a chunk down as well, will retain his roughly 10 CS deficit. Wiggily heading up near the top side. Here comes the hard engage. There's a little bit of health on Hauntzer, but he's got to try to run away as fast as he can. Gets smited. The flash forward ulti is on. Pobelter's here as well. Goodbye to Hauntzer. CLG find first blood in the top lane.
Well done, as Hauntzer was just looking to actually push that in, and Pobelter was on a move timing, you know, use the ulti to get up there, but Golden Guardians are in a great spot to actually trade back. They're just going to straight up take that mid lane tower with the Rift Herald here. So Ryze now is going to lose some of that bastion of safety here where he has been farming, and as a result, you know, the gold lead will stay where it was, about 2,000 gold ahead here for Golden Guardians, but CLG with a nice move of their own, and the gold did go in the pockets of Pobelter, which is exactly where they will want it. And I do have some concerns for Golden Guardians and their comp going forward, but we can watch this one more time. The Ignite was just going to actually drop the Spellbook charge there. Ruin a little bit of a mistake, actually ulting a bit too early, so it did overlap with his Twisted Advance, but Pobelter there in time, ults up, Wiggily flash for the stun, and they're able to lock down Hauntzer and take him out.
Alrighty. Now, I do want to point out that 2 turret plates were taken topside for CLG as a result of that gank, and Hauntzer neglected to TP topside. He's holding that summoner spell for what is probably an impending team fight via the fact that Ocean Drake is spawning in about 5 seconds. They probably want him there for that one. Protobelt's done. No ult for the Kennen, but look at that. A gold card, a stun, and Tempered Fate just barely flashed away with Pobelter. But that is now, an engage for Closer. Ults him right back in. Goodbye, vengeance from a top laner. TP in a mid for Ruin. There's TF ult to spot everything out. Is this fight going to be good? Huhi's going to flash backwards to root it in place. The Wiggily wants in, finds a stun. Huhi's trying to run for his life, and FBI is there to go right back in. The dunk backwards from the Volibear. Shots coming through from Aphelios. Closer wants right back in as well, and Golden Guardians are on the hunt to push CLG away. A flash forward. Kennen's in. There's a stun on one, a root on the other, and it's 3 unanswered kills for Golden Guardians. A blue buff for them, and it's time for an easy Ocean Drake.
Golden Guardians just wiping CLG off the map. Full control in this game now. Will take their second dragon after a dominant team fight win. And, you know, Ruin pretty ambitious with that early TP. He did find members from Golden Guardians. He was in a good position for a flank, but the problem is, if your carries are not there to follow up, it doesn't actually matter if you lock someone down. So, you know, they didn't have the damage to actually follow up on that engage from him. And Hauntzer, you know, his ultimate did come back up, and he was able to find what was a great fight here. Again, Damonte lying in wait. They had that deep ward, was not spotted by Pobelter, so in they go. They lock him down. Pobelter just barely able to flash out, but Closer, he says, I can catch him. You know, snaps him back in with the face grab, dunks him into the team, and then in comes the teleport. But look where Stixxay is. He is actually kind of zoned off the team. Pobelter is dead, so there's no damage there to actually follow up onto Huhi on what would have otherwise been a pretty easy kill. So it was a good idea from Ruin, but didn't take into consideration where the rest of his squad was. And then as Hauntzer arrives, he can take the magical journey through. He has the flash and the Protobelt to close the distance on multiple members, and Black Shield was no longer there from Smoothie, so they clean up the kills. They grab the second dragon. They are dominating in this one.
They absolutely are. Kind of start to finish. There was a first blood, and that was well done. FBI says, I'm 1v2, it's okay. No big problems here. As the squad comes around and knocks down the wards. Now playing the bottom side. CLG not done just yet. Big stun for Hauntzer. Damage on a Pobe. Ruin is very tanky. Is it going to be enough? Golden Guardians, will they lose their top laner? They will not until the very end, but he gets the 2 for 1. Hauntzer will take those, and they will take a kill on the top side of the map as well. Goodbye to Stixxay. There is no stopping Golden Guardians.
Hauntzer with the outplay, they're surviving. You can see the face cams, a lot of players having a laugh after that one, but they just couldn't quite land a lot of the damage. It seemed like a lot of miscues there from Pobelter, and Hauntzer did a good job kind of avoiding some of that positioning well, and with that damage being turned around and his ultimate available, Kennen is pretty damn difficult to dive. So CLG losing out again on both sides of the map now, more than 5,000 gold behind. They are looking for plays, but just not being able to pull them off as Golden Guardians has been able to answer and winning out on both sides of the map again.
Golden Guardians and winning. It is cool to see, though. This is the team that got back-to-back 10th places in their inaugural LCS season. Up here, almost a 4th place at this point in time. Hauntzer in a 1v2 under turret gets them both.
Yep, exactly. So, you know, Pobelter honestly stepped a little bit too far forward there, you know, and it was in range of that Kennen ultimate, so he tanked up pretty much that full Kennen ultimate, and then Ruin, who was tanking the tower, you know, once he gets too low and he actually has to use the Twisted Advance, when you Twisted Advance, you lose tower aggro. So then that swaps back over to Pobelter, allowing Hauntzer to finish him off, and the tower then killed Ruin right after. And up on the top side, they win the fight, they take the turret, they're going to grab a Rift Herald to boot. They are very, very rich. You can see how far Stixxay in particular is falling behind. You know, we talk about Kalista as this early mid-game champion who sometimes can struggle because of the range difficulties later on. Yes, they have a good team fighting team with engage and tanks, but when you're down 5,000 gold and individually, you know, he's down about 1,500 gold himself, that is getting very, very concerning because you're on Blade of the Rune King and FBI is closing in on 2 items.
Well, credit to CLG. They are not done just yet. They bring the cleanse out of Damonte, though, and that's going to be enough. Spellbook's over and walks right back out. Hey, it's still a cooldown. It's still several minutes. Spellbook was nerfed this patch, but now it's another counterpunch. Golden Guardians right there, easily tanking the root from Huhi, as now Ruin is kind of trying to run away, gets his own root back, and will not survive at FBI 3-0. This opens up the bot lane.
Good attempt there to get away from Ruin, but would have had to land the Twisted Advance on the Bard Q to actually avoid that, to really stand much of a chance of getting away. And Huhi again on that roam. They saw that Wiggily as well as Pobelter were up on that top side trying to kill off Damonte, so when CLG can't pull that off on the top side, Golden Guardians knows they have that window to make a play on the bottom side without there being much of a response, and they are able to pull it off. Very well done by them. Even going to be able to drop the Rift Herald to take their 4th tower here. CLG has a great comp, but it's just they're losing out in too many ways. You know, I do think that Pobelter can win in the side lane. I do think that, you know, Ruin is going to be very effective in the team fights, but it's just so tough, and Golden Guardians isn't necessarily going to give those to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's tough because Golden Guardians are playing really well. This is one of the criticisms I had of them from the early game. They are still the #2 early game team in the league. After Team Liquid has shaped up to be very, very strong, we've seen other teams be able to step up. Golden Guardians are still the statistically #2 team in the early game behind Cloud9. The problem was they could not close those games. They had thrown so many away off of failing to capitalize after 10 to 15 minutes. This time around, though, we are seeing them remain proactive. But it's not just, well, TF ulted side lane, so we got a kill, no big deal. It's everyone running around. Huhi and Hauntzer and FBI are all over the map making all these plays. Closer with, you know, the phase rush gets the phase breaker into running behind you to dunk you back into the team. Everyone's doing their part here. It's already 3 Drakes. I mean, they're stacking them so quickly. We're going to have a 24-minute Infernal Soul.
They're looking really, really good. And as you say, they have been a fantastic early game team. But we saw, you know, on the analyst test, they were talking about Dragon Soul, over an 88% win rate in the LCS. They have lost, I believe, 2 games with Dragon Soul. I do think that they were worse late game team comps than they are playing with this time. But we want to see them be able to close it out. We want to see them continue this dominance. And that's kind of that next big step, is to, you know, maintain your strong early game, but then show that you can consistently close out games, show that you can consistently snowball those leads and extend them, because that's what we're looking for from Golden Guardians if they want to be able to challenge those top teams consistently. Obviously, they got that big win off of Cloud9, which was, you know, amazing yesterday, but going into playoffs, they want to show that they are a consistent threat against the top.
Yeah, and it feels increasingly like they are, right? Let's not forget Golden Guardians took down Cloud9 yesterday, and I know C9 are slumping a bit, but, well, they're slumping because they're losing to teams who are getting better, such as Golden Guardians. I'm a fan of how the split is going for them. I want to see them get to, you know, 10-7, something like that. That'd be exciting. We'll see if they can make that keep going. They're looking at win number 9 right now, tying their record for most wins in the LCS in any given split. They've done 9-9 before. They can certainly go above that here. 7,000 gold lead. We know Infernal Dragon spawns in 3.5. Baron is already up on the map. Not sure if they can rush that one down, but a 2 out of Aphelios does decent damage. And again, CLG still remaining active, still trying to be a threat. They look at Damonte. Pobelter with a nice juke. I think he was partially predicting that one. I don't believe Huhi was on a ward. He's like, there might be a sidestep. It's like, wow, that's just freaking impressive. Regardless, though, still around the jungle, taking away jungle camps. Not a lot CLG gets to do.
Yep, CLG, to their credit, as you say, you know, are consistently trying to make plays. It's just that Golden Guardians have been equal to them. Again, they are trying to pick off Damonte in the side lane. They have Wiggily and Pobelter up there. It's a good set of members to actually, you know, take out Damonte if they're able to get up to him. But Huhi was hovering, covering his mid laner so he can push out, and, you know, gets the flash out of Pobelter with that ultimate. So despite a nice sidestep from Pobelter, it is still him going down a summoner on the play and being once again pushed back. It's also interesting to note that Stixxay is going Rageblade here on Kalista. I tend to not be as big of a fan of the Rageblade unless you were fighting against a lot of tanks. There is the Sett, and maybe his read is that I'm only going to be able to access the Sett anyway, and in that case, I do think it can be quite effective. But generally speaking, against a lot of the squishier members, the fights don't go long enough for Kalista to really stack up the Rageblade and get a tremendous amount of value out of it.
Yeah, the way I kind of think of it right now, because I would say, like, Phantom Dancer might be a decent choice here, right? As, like, your outright second item as a Zeal upgrade. It's like, well, I'm fighting literally one melee champion, and anytime Hauntzer walks in, he's just going to zone you afterwards. So it's like, well, okay, I'm not getting a lot of Hurricane value in a team fight because I'm actually only hitting closer. So, okay, you know, I'll go for the single target damage output item instead. I agree, fight's not going to be that long. Right, if Golden Guardians gets their way, you're just getting destroyed by a Kennen and the fight's over in 4 seconds. And you want to be as upfront as possible, but I still think there is logic to going for Rageblade. It is a strong item, and you don't have to always get optimal value out of the item for the item to be correct.
Yep, and we'll see if he can actually find the fights, you know, the types of fights he wants, where, you know, he's kiting back closer and being able to get, you know, value out of that Rageblade, being able to have that be very effective for him. But Golden Guardians still pushing all 3 lanes. They are pressuring here. Pobelter and Wiggily looking for the engage.
TF ults in, brings Wiggily. Here comes the fight. FBI goes back around, but there is Volibear on top. Flashes, barely gets himself alive, and now Smoothie's low on health. Can't quite go down. There we go. Kennen into the back line's going to find a whole bunch of stuns, but not quite the kill. So it's time for the re-engage. There is 1 kill on the board for the Kalista, and Stixxay is stacked up, but he has no one else to attack as his front line is gone. End of the day, 2 for 1. Fight lead again goes to Golden Guardians.
Golden Guardians were pushing all 3 lanes, still able to react and actually win out on that fight, and that is your gold lead in action there. Stixxay now maybe hung around a little bit too long. We'll be able to get out. I actually think that was a pretty solid engage, a pretty solid attempt from CLG. They realm warped in the Volibear. He anticipated that FBI was going to go through the portal, chased around to the other side. They have extra members here, so they're forcing the hand here, trying to engage on that 3-man squad. Wiggily is there waiting as FBI comes through, but he has the red gun ulti to heal up, and then because he is so strong, because he is so far ahead, as the rest of the members do arrive, he shreds through Wiggily. Kennen gets a great ultimate. The collapse comes in from TF. Everyone from FBI was really quick to respond, or rather, not from FBI, from Golden Guardians, was very quick to respond to that engage on FBI. So again, CLG trying things, but Golden Guardians really has been on it this game. They have been so quick to react, and have got to give them a lot of credit. I'm happy that CLG is not just kind of sitting back and accepting their loss, though. They are fighting for it. They are consistently looking for engages. They just aren't working because Golden Guardians is just playing better and has a huge lead.
All right,
this
could be a Soul fight. This could be the play. Dunks backwards. Not going to land the ultimate just yet. Comes back for the re-engage. Here comes the damage up, but Wiggily wants right back in, but still the Drake is too healthy. They're going for the fight instead, and it's a shutdown here for the Kalista. Is it going to be enough? Kennen in the back line. Hauntzer just kills everybody. FBI is low, but he can kite away and hit Ruin. Now Wiggly's next up on the block. He will get a kill, but it's not going to be enough. The triple comes through. The quadra for Hauntzer, plus the Infernal Soul. Golden Guardians got to crush CLG in this one.
Hauntzer just wiped him off the map. It looked like it was going to be a great fight for CLG. The beginning moments of it were looking pretty darn solid. Maokai had an ultimate that rooted up multiple members from pretty far away, so the long route, it felt like they had created some space for their carries, but Hauntzer, they lost track of him. He gets in on 3 or 4 members and just shredded through them in this Bud Light A. So we can watch this one more time. Closer just trying to get CLG off of the Dragon, dunking Wiggily away, but Damonte ults in, and this is where I'm thinking, hey, things could actually look all right here. They're on top of Damonte. He gets stacked up on, taken out, while the rest of them are getting rooted up, but then they all funnel forward here. Hauntzer finds his moment, gets an incredible ultimate across 4 members there. The smite is landed by Closer in the background, so the Infernal Soul picked up on the back end as Hauntzer gets a quadra kill, and that may be the straw that broke the camel's back here. CLG are so far behind. 10,000 gold lead nearly, plus the Infernal Soul at 25 minutes. That feels like it could be the insurmountable lead that they needed.
Yeah, honestly, this is an absurdly good lead right now. Leandry's now done as well. Deathcap's on the way for Hauntzer.
Just so fed.
Yeah, he's gigantic. He's absolutely massive. He's got the CS lead. He's stacked the Cole in the early game. He 1v2 under his own turret and got 2 kills for it. Like, the man has done it all. Kill leader in this game. Absolutely in love with how he's played this one out so far. Now Golden Guardians, here we go. Walk up to the Baron. Start damage again. FBI is going to tank it for a bit, which does mean he deals half damage to Baron. But someone else got to show up at some point. Closer.
X-Flash.
X-Flash over. There we go. And that's going to be an easy one picked up. You can see CLG on the minimap, nowhere nearby. They see people in mid lane. Damonte can ult if he needs to keep tracking, but vision control is already good enough. They're just going to grab this one. I like that they're only sending 2 or 3 just to, allay suspicions. No, don't worry. You can see Damonte, he's wave clear. You can see Kennen, he's wave clear. We're not. Oh, Baron's gone.
And that was actually the TP from Pobelter down to that bottom lane, just to get that tower. 3 members from CLG were down there, but they lose the top lane tower. They lose the Baron as well. And I've got to give a lot of credit to Damonte. There's been so many attempts from CLG to actually pick off this TF in the side lane. He has not been overextending. He has been exerting enough pressure to demand that members from CLG come to him. But he only has 1 death this entire game, and it was in a team fight. He has not been picked off in a side lane a single time, despite Wiggily and Pobelter hunting for him for what feels like the last 15 minutes.
Yeah. And CLG have been trying. Like, I still want to end kind of on a positive note with CLG that, look, they certainly are outclassed here by Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians, I feel like, are maybe number 4 or 5 teams in the LCS right now. They're solid. I expect them to go reasonably far in playoffs here. We know they're already locked in. If they close us out, they're locked to an upper bracket start. CLG, as we can see here, are still trying. They're looking for the engage. They want to kill Closer. They nearly take him down. Another auto would do it, but he's a stopwatch. The ulti's going to land from 1, and Closer, though he's low, they can't quite get the damage. He barely walks away with his life. That's after putting a stopwatch to live. CLG almost have the damage. They come close several times, but they just continually seem outmatched.
That is, again, gold lead in action. If you're not 10,000 gold behind, that's a pretty easy kill. But you know, you have to have those absolutely perfect engages where everyone is there to have a chance to burst people down because they are so far behind. And it's got to be heartbreaking for CLG to almost get that kill, because that could have delayed or prevented a lot of the rest of the Baron push. It could have given them a small window of respite in this game, but not going to be able to find it just yet. You can see Stixxay is on 3 items, so that is something going well for CLG. He has the Hurricane plus the Rage Blade now. Tons of attack speed in the tank there. But we'll see if they can hold on, because the wave clear is going to get tough. It is just 2 lanes being pushed right now for Golden Guardians. I think they don't want to be risking any sort of engage on them, as Hauntzer doesn't have TP right now. He's playing with that cleanse, so they don't want to send him out to a separate lane.
Now, the saplings do a little bit of poke, a little bit of vision control. CLG still trying to fight over their territory. Baron buff ending in 40 seconds. Time for the top lane siege as the Chakram turret goes down, and the turret itself is dropped as well. Closer wants in, dunks into the back line, finds some damage. Look at the kill into Smoothie, push them right back in. Now into Pobelter, getting low, and now in the front line is Ruin. Redemption coming down to keep them healthy. They're going to be just safe.
Close got flash.
As well, and Stixxay got to be an easy target, trying to flash away, can't survive it. 1 kill picked up. Now the re-dunk for Volibear, but it's not going to be enough. It's trying to run away, just barely getting his life. But CLG have already lost 1. They will lose 2. The carries are gone, and Golden Guardians are in the base to take a 30-minute win. They will lock an upper bracket berth in playoffs. They will tie their record for most wins in a split, and they've still got 2 to play. Golden Guardians 9-7. We know they're going to playoffs. The question is, how deep can they go? They will close down the turret. They will lose with a kill. Hauntzer, I am so sorry you had to die. And maybe Golden Guardians will close the game out here. CLG is still fighting with their last breath, but it's going to be the last one here. The Nexus will fall, and Golden Guardians will knock down CLG.
An incredible game here from Golden Guardians, playing it very, very well, start to finish. CLG never really got a foothold in this game. It felt like Golden Guardians were winning across the map from all the lanes being pushing in the early game, double scuttle, getting early dragons despite being up against that Kalista Morgana lane. They were winning across the board. They were equal to the task every time CLG did look for an engage. Damonte playing incredibly well in that side lane, and Hauntzer was just such a beast in the team fights. Even in that last fight, I mean, yes, they were always going to kind of win that team fight because they're so far ahead, but he was saving his cooldowns very, very intelligently. He's even saving the lightning rush and his flash and everything until after all the Maokai CC ended, so that he wouldn't be prevented from getting into the back line. You can only delay then and not stop the Kennen if he's playing that well. And Hauntzer was great, and this is another step towards an upper bracket. As you said, they've locked that.
Yeah.
And potentially still theoretically could get top 2, but it's not in their control. It's like incredibly unlikely.
The chance for a 2nd seed is alive. We know their upper bracket. The worst they can finish is 6th. They can go up to 11 wins, which is where Cloud9 stands right now. Regardless, well done, Golden Guardians. You are an excellent team. They are half a game behind FlyQuest for 4th, with games, of course, to play to see if they can make up that ground. It's exciting, though. Well done to them. CLG, only half a game above the playoff bubble. It's going to be close to see if they can hold on to that spot. But now it's time for us to step away. When we return, we will have FBI for the Verizon